So as you may or may not know, I am a social entrepreneur. I am the founder of the E.V.E consulting firm. And E.V.E as an acronym stands for Empowerment via Education. So I'm taking 15 plus years of my professional career as an educator, an artist, and an educator who taught the arts into the realm of supporting, as a consultant, leaders and those in positions of leadership. Large organizations, nonprofits, capacity builders, community builders, and I support them through change management strategies. I support them through leadership development of their emerging leaders within their organization. And so I do all of that work really out of the passion for multi-generational interdependence. I know it's a lot, but I am going to continue to use that term because that's my area of specialty. I am interested in grabbing both the gems, right, from our predecessors and grabbing the gens, these generations that are emerging. So that's my work, gems and gens, right? Both are valuable. For the era that we're going into, we're going to need to be intentional, strategic, and purposeful about grabbing both generations and connecting them because they are both useful, right? So the generations that are coming up are strong and they will take us into the next era. The generations that have gone before us are wise and they can tell these strong people where to go and how to move. That's the work. So I call myself the brilliant ideas specialist. Well, these brilliant ideas come from somewhere. They're not coming from me, okay? So I don't take credit for this. I have to give all credit to God. But I thought, well, here's an interesting way to develop content on my platform and do it in a way that allows me to scaffold information because of the genre of work that I do, the space that I'm in. A lot of the content that I offer in a training capacity is heavy. And so how do I give this in small bites? And so you're going to see me out in these internet webs, okay? I am not, those of you who know me, you know I'm not for these internet webs and for these internet streets, okay? I know that I have to be intentional to do this for the business. And so here we go. All right. So on Sundays, you're going to get a video that front loads everything that I'm talking about for the week. So I'm going to stay on theme for the entire week and focus on one subject. What this helps us to do is to actually have these conversations and themes and so that they can go on, but we can unpack it one part at a time. So just like I would scaffold instruction, I'm going to do the same thing in this space for my leaders. Okay. So whether you would identify yourself as a leader or not, whether you would identify yourself as a person who is being led or who can support the team and you feel like you're like in the back and you can pull everybody up from the rear and you really lead from behind, this is still applicable for you. It is really moving from this place of paralysis to power. Money flows and fear freezes. That means that if you are stagnant at any level in your leadership, it's going to cost you something. If you have too much money, you got 99 problems. If you got too much fear, you got 99 problems. If you have not enough money, you got 99 problems. If you don't have enough fear, you have 99 problems. So what's the key here? The key here is balance. Fear doesn't happen in a vacuum. It doesn't happen while you're on your own, and it doesn't just affect you. So the way that I unpack this idea is if your money stopped flowing, you'd be out of business. If your money stopped flowing, you'd be out of a job. So why do you allow fear to stop you in your tracks? So if you think about fear like you think about money, you're going to move differently. You're going to stop being so afraid to make a move, right? You're going to stop being so afraid of change. What would you do? You would stop immediately and assess all of your finances, right? If you were running a business, if you were making $200,000 a year and you dropped in sales to $50,000, you're going to stop everything to figure out where the rest of that money is and where it's going. Why come and how for? When it comes to fear, we will allow this thing to overtake us, not for days, not for weeks, sometimes for years. We will allow our fear in an area of our life to inhibit our ability to have forward momentum and forward direction. Why is that? If you treated fear like you treated money, you would not be as afraid as you are. That's a bar. If your fear was on the line like your money is on the line, you're not going to operate in fear. Why? Because it costs you something. But because we're so conditioned to be comfortable with where we are, we don't move as we need to. And we cannot be so afraid of change that we make none at all. So that's number one. Number two, any of you ever been in a public space and you see like 2 or 3 people start running? Out of nowhere, they zoom, they take off. If you're wise, you're going to start running. You don't know what they're running from, but you also don't want what they are running from to catch up with you. I mean, hello? Right. You don't want what these people are running from to catch you. So you're going to run first. And then when you get on the other side of safety, you're going to say, whew, what are we running from? Right? In the same way, those who you are leading can sense your fear. They can sense your panic. They can sense your instability, especially if you don't communicate. You determine the culture of your organization. You are absolutely responsible for the culture of your organization if you are leading a team or if you're running the business yourself as a CEO or COO. Your responsibility. I hear a lot of language with people saying, oh, Mimi, I'm putting out fires. No, you're not. Stop using that language, please. Nothing is on fire. If you're putting out fires every day, then something's burning. I mean, I don't want to work for a company that's on fire every day. Words matter. Words are important. So if you use language like, oh, I'm putting out fires. You all have heard this language, yes or no? Just holler at me in the chat. I'm putting out fires all day. Well, if you are putting out fires, then that means that we're in an emergency. I don't want to work for a company that is always in a constant state of emergency. I can't trust your leadership if you're unstable. I don't know if my check is coming next week, if the business is unstable. So be careful as leaders to not use language that frames in the deficit. There are no emergencies here, right? E.V.E. Consulting Firm, I don't have any emergencies over here. Now, things may emerge. So I may deal with things that are emergent, but I don't have no emergencies. There is nothing so problematic within this business that would not require me to sit and focus, process, determine what is the best next step to make a decision and we move. But you can't be so emotional that you're causing the whole team to panic in the way that you are. If you run, they will run. So those of you who are wondering why you had so many quit or why your turnover is so high, check your language. Check your disposition about how things are happening. The change that is beyond your control is change beyond your control. What you want to do is be honest, be integral, be transparent, and say, look, we're in a tight space right now, and I don't know what's happening, but I want to ensure that I have your confidence. I want to ensure that I have your buy-in to stick with us through this hard moment. What people can appreciate if they're working with you and under your leadership is if you actually talk to them. You'd be surprised that many to this day have not done a full one-on-one check-in, just a personal check-in with each of their team members to ensure how are you emotionally, mentally, spiritually? How are you doing? Functionally, operationally. We've lost set numbers of team members, and I know that meant that your workload had to increase. How are you managing that? How can I support you to do your work much more efficiently? Even in the process of uncertainty or instability, factors for which we can't control. These are outside circumstances and it's happening all over the globe. but what can I do as a leader to make you as comfortable as I possibly can? An employee will respect that. If you are honest and forthright about the parts of it that you can't control, but the part that you can is the culture. You can control keeping everybody calm because that is your responsibility. The culture of your space, the culture of your organization, the culture of your community that you're leading and building is absolutely your responsibility. Idea 3. Okay, the only change that hurts is the change you don't make. Listen to me. The only change that hurts is a change that you choose not to make. Watch this. Change, as in change in your pocket, money, currency, remember that, it flows. If you don't make personal change, it's going to hurt. Any of you on this live right now can tell me the money that I'm making right now, yesterday's price is not today's price, right? I'm comfortable with making that for the next 10 years. I'll wait. I'm just asking for a friend. If you are comfortable with making what you are making right now, making that over the next 10 years, given inflation and all the other things that are happening, virtually everything that's happening, you're okay with staying the same. If you're not okay with your money status staying the same, okay, nope, not me. Exactly. I'm with you, Trace. Okay? If you're not okay with your money status staying the same, then why are you okay with your person staying the same? You're not making any spiritual change or growth. You're not making any emotional change or growth. You're not making any mindset change or growth. You're okay with just coasting the way that you are for the next 10 years. So if you're not okay with money staying the same, then you should also not be okay with you staying the same. What else? We have this saying, scared money don't make money, right? Scared change don't make change. Look, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So simple, yet so profound. So if we don't choose to do something different and we allow fear to paralyze us, to keep us in the status quo, how do we personally intend to grow? And even more, the lives that are connected to your influence, whether it be in your personal space, whether it be in your professional space as leaders, you lead wherever you go. You don't stop being a leader. You don't turn that off just because you clock out at 5, right? A leader is a leader is a leader is a leader wherever you are. And if you are a leader worth your salt, you can't hide from your leadership no matter where you are. So if this is the case, then we can't allow paralyzation to immobilize us. If we don't move, then the people who are connected to our lives cannot move. And if we're stagnant, then so are they. That's a problem, but it is also an opportunity. Here is where you move from paralyzation into power. Identify the fact that the lives that are connected to your life have an individual and unique purpose, but they're tied to yours for a purpose. Who do other people get to become as a result of who you are? Have you ever stopped to ask yourself that question? Let's just let that breathe. Who do others get to become as a result of who you are? We empower who you are for what you do around here because we believe that identity informs purpose. So your who has to be before your what. Your what is pretty inconsequential compared to your who. It pales in comparison. If you know who you are, then you will be clear about what you're here to do. And your identity is as attached to you as your purpose is. But you got to be clear about your identity before you move in your purpose. Some of you on this live, you may have had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 jobs before figuring out what's the thing that really you could do in your sleep, you could do all day long, and it brings you absolute joy. That might be your passion, but it also might be because you're moving in your purpose. My purpose is this, right? And so when you're clear about your purpose, thank you, Natia. And I'll do that with passion and with fervency and with clarity. Even when everything else around me is shifting, I'll do that clearly. Idea number 4, this is really good. Slow your roll to know your role. I've been dropping gems all night. This is what I do, okay? Slow your roll to know your role. As leaders, we often use this language. I'm wearing so many hats. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are actually doing more than you should because you are not a good delegator. And perhaps you need support with that. Book me. I have a tool that I can share with those of you who'd like. So let me give you the tool, talk you through it. And if you think it'll be helpful, I'll absolutely share it with you. No problem. Part of the program is the 4 hats exercise with large organizations, with small cohorts of business leaders. But this is absolutely helpful for you to see what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. 4 hats. It's my rule of 4 because anything beyond 4 is hard to digest. So you got 4 hats essentially. You're not juggling 16 balls or 16 plates. It may feel like you have 16 hats. You don't have 16 hats. You really have 4, and you might have delegations of responsibilities under those hats. But you should not be wearing more than 4 hats. Even that's a lot for a leader. Because now again, the culture you have is the culture you create. Now you got a team that's running around talking about, I got so much on my plate. They have so much on their plate because you have gave them the impression that that's okay to do. It's not okay. It is not okay to have a million things on your plate. You have up to 4 things on your plate. You need to be clear about categorically where everything fits and sits. So if you are working in development, probably one of your primary goals is to build relationships with stakeholders and donors and investors. Number 2 is to get clear about developing a tracker or communications for how your organization raises funds, some system for that, right? Number 3 is management of the database of all those donors. Number 4 is probably setting the events for the year for fundraising. Now, underneath each of those categories, you may have a number of responsibilities, but you shouldn't have any more than 4 hats. So ultimately, your homework assignment today is to take whatever you're doing professionally, personally. If you're running your own business, you can do this. If you're not running your own business and working for somebody else, but you are a leader in whatever capacity, whatever stage or level of development you're at, think about the work you do and break that down into 4 categories only, and see how much work under those categories you can actually sort your tasks, because your tasks are not your hats, okay? Your hats are really the 4 major things that you're responsible for. And then next week or week after, we'll actually talk about how you start to chunk your work. Chunk your calendar, chunk your time so that you're actually breaking down work based on those 4 categories of work that you have to do, need to do in a cadence and on a routine or a schedule. But if you walk around saying, I wear 16 hats, or I wear all these hats and I've got so much work to do, so much on my plate and I'm juggling. Yes. So if you keep using that language, when you grow a team or when you have a team and they start using the same language, don't be surprised when they're burned out. You have the culture that you've created, or you can create the culture that you want, right? That's the work. So just to recap, we got idea number 1. Think about the way that you like your money to flow. You like your money to keep moving. Guess what you want that fear to do? Any fear. I don't care how it rises up. I don't care what area of your life it's in. You want fear to flow right on by. Because if the moment that you become stagnant in your fear, you stop moving. And if you stop moving, everything stops and everybody connected to you stops. Number 2, if you are panicked and frantic, then everybody else around you will be as well. Plant your feet, get grounded, be clear and transparent about your communication, even when things are unstable, especially when you didn't cause the instability. Okay? Number 3, the only change that hurts is the change that you don't make. So if you don't put change in your pocket, you're not going to have money. That's going to be a problem. So if you are afraid of making change, you already know the end result. So do something different. Number 4 is really about slowing your roll to know your role. Stop moving so fast in your process that you can't sit for a moment, synthesize. You know what? I don't do a million things. I do 4. And categorically get organized and get clear so that I focus on these 4 things in my leadership. I promise you, your team will transform the way that they work and the way that they move and talk about their work and won't be so burned out. Friends watch lives. They save lives. They share lives. So I want you to do all 3 of those things. If you felt that any of this added value to you, thank you so much for joining. I'll see you in these internet webs and streets.